What is happening, YouTube? Welcome to hopefully the first of many installments of About and Abroad, a YouTube channel where hopefully I can share what it's like to be a beginner motorcyclist in 2026. So I guess we can start off with the bike that I'm going to be riding. This is my first bike here. So I've got an F900 XR 2026 model. Now, one of the things I want to cover with this channel is an F900 or a 900cc bike too much for a beginner rider? Can a beginner handle, safely, competently, a 900cc? I'll give a bit of reasoning on why I chose this. We'll get into a bit about the bike, and we'll just take it out on the road, and I'll give you my beginner's feedback on what I think about it, and if it was the right decision, if it was the wrong decision, some pros and cons about the bike, and we'll just go from there. So I think we'll hop on, we'll get going, and it's a stunning night tonight, so let's what is it they say? Make hay where the sun shines, something like that. Right guys, so you join me on the bike. I guess a little bit of backstory about myself. So kind of late to the bike party, I decided that I preferred cars for a long time. I never had a huge interest in bikes up until maybe my mid-20s, later 20s. And I probably would never have been safe enough on me, to be honest, so I think there was a maturity aspect about when I get into bikes. That dog in the back of the car. So I was never really into bikes, and then I think I hit a stage in my life where it was maybe a good time to get onto one. I didn't have a fast car for the past year or so, and that's always been my thing. I've always been more into motor vehicles that is. Seemed like a perfect opportunity to jump straight in. Got the CBT out of the way last July, August time maybe. And then I'm sure some of you watching this will be from Scotland, and if you're not, I'm sure you're familiar with the weather system that they have here. The winters don't exactly favour motorcycle riding, so it was a pretty slow process in getting the license over the winter, but we did eventually get it. We got it in February this year, and during the lessons, like most learners I'm sure, I wanted to get onto the biggest, fastest bike I could, as quick as I could. And for me, one of the bikes I really enjoy is an S1000 XR from BMW. Just pause this music so I can hear myself think a little bit. Now, as you can imagine, I'm sure everyone around me suggested that maybe that wasn't the greatest idea, and to start a bit smaller. But I'm a bit of a like one and done kind of guy. I much prefer just getting something, sticking with it, and that's the end of it. But upon completion of my direct access, I ran some quotes, and it turns out you can't actually insure. Well, you can if you fancy paying $3.5 to $4 grand a year for insurance, which I did not do. So I looked at some other options. I looked at sports tourers like Tracer 9s, Tiger 800s. I think there's a few other options. Older bikes as well. I looked at some 600s, but from Facebook Marketplace, but none of them really gave me the feeling that I wanted to feel on my first bike. So I straddled up to, I think it was a Saturday. It must have been a Saturday. To the bike shops in Glasgow. You should stay there, sir. Thank you very much. I checked over, if you remember the Glasgow at all, there's a Triumph in Hillington. Checked over there, had a look over some. Nothing really took my fancy. Where else did I check? I checked Victor Devines on the expressway. I quite fancied some sort of Honda. I can't even remember which one it was. A Hornet maybe. I didn't have any demos, so I couldn't try one, unfortunately. So I took myself up to BMW Motorrad. And out the front, I don't know if it's just BMW or if there's another couple of dealers that do it, but they've got multiple demos that just pretty much sat there. So went around and spoke to the guy, great guy. Told him where I was at in my licence, my riding gear, and that I fancied one of the F900 XRs. And with that, he pretty much threw me the keys and said, "No, I didn't take one out." Now, as I said earlier on, I'm pretty much a one and done kind of guy, so with that, I took it for a ride, and about an hour and 15 minutes later, I returned back and sold the guy. That's the bike for me. When can I pick it up, essentially? So there's a little bit of back and forth, done a bit of negotiating, you know, I kind of took my time a little bit and managed to get a pretty good deal. So the one that was in the showroom was unregistered, no plates on it. So he said, well, if you wait till, you know, the first week of March, you get it on the 26 plate. So that's what we've done, and that's what we've got. And I think at the time of this video, we've covered, 2,500 miles. Let's have a scan through. Yep, 2,400 miles, which is fairly good going, considering we're just at the end of April. So in 2 months' time, I've covered 2,500 miles, which I've definitely tried to make use of the bike. I've done a few trips on it. I've come across the west coast of Scotland and then done a slightly longer one down to the Peak District. And honestly, hand in heart, a couple of niggles, but I think I made the right decision. Now, the niggles, if you want to get them out of the way, I guess it's a fairly common one for the BMW range, it seems, especially the S1000R and this F900, the S1000 XR, and this one is the seat. So after a few hours, it does start feeling like you're sitting on a laptop. It does get a bit hard. So I'll be looking at options for that. I've Wunderlich, I've got a great option, I believe. Again, mixed reviews though, so we'll see. Not in a rush to change it at the moment. I think just take a short break, get off the bike, walk around, get a coffee, get something to eat, and that kind of takes care of that. What else do I have wrong with this bike? Seat position's great. I did install some bar risers. I think 25mm up or 20mm up and 20mm back. Perfect. I was getting slightly bit of shoulder pain, but we couldn't kind of narrow it down to if that was bike fitness or if it was the bike hurting me, but I was getting some right shoulder pain. Now with the risers it is better. It's not totally eliminated, but it takes a bit longer until the pain kind of comes in. But that's probably the two things, that's the only two things I've got. Now the pros, again this is from a new rider perspective. The speed of the bike is great. The weight of the bike is great. It's very flickable in turns. It's very manageable at slow speeds. You've got no issues with feeling top heavy in any way. So when I come to a stop, it feels very, very stable until you pull that clutch in and put your foot down, which is probably what you'd expect. It feels more like a 600 in my opinion, especially from the one that I learned on. I think I learned on like an S3 650 or something along those lines. And you go so yeah, it feels much the same. It doesn't feel overweight or it doesn't feel too heavy. I've done a lot of slow speed hairpins, and I've never really felt like I was going to topple it over. So I do think the weight is a great thing. The tech, it's got absolutely everything that you could ever want. Obviously I've got my phone mounted up here. You've got the TFT below it. This also added on extra, this doesn't come included. But in terms of, you know, everything that comes with it, it's TPMS, which is just brilliant on a bike. You're not checking pressures all the time. Also, the Bluetooth connectivity. It's got nav. The nav is very basic on this. It only gives arrows, which is a bit of a shame. I feel like there's definitely real estate there that it could have gave you some like kind of small map, but then they wouldn't have been able to upsell you these things, you know, and the TomTom and all the other attachments that go with it. I believe the spec I have, dynamic and comfort spec and stuff, has the adjustable suspension, which is obviously the two different modes, dynamic and road, and then I think you can adjust it for different passengers as well. I do have the adjustable front forks as well. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but you've got compression, rebound and preload up front there. I do want to kind of nail that in, but I don't really know how to, so I might seek some professional help on that. Heated grips is standard. I believe that's standard on all of them. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's a great feature, especially coming from, you know, March and April. I definitely needed it. Paired that with the handguards as well, and it's definitely, you know, keeps you a bit more comfortable. The quick shifter. Now, if I just take my foot off that, kick it down, which would be an initial, but cut that bit out. Yeah, so the quick shifter. Some people might say that as a beginner rider, the last thing you need is a quick shifter. But unless you just completely forget about your left hand here, then it's only going to be a positive. The ability to be able to just kick it up at almost any rev range, almost any throttle input, and then when you get to a set of lights like we've got up here, you know, hands on the bars, with front brake, back brake, we can just kick down the gears. I think that's just so convenient. So handy. But then also it's best to keep your left hand in tune and, you know, do a bit of rev matching, because you don't want to get lazy. So I do try and mix it up on my rides. I do kind of, you know, do half and half, so I give the clutch a wee work and do a bit of matching. But if you want to, you know, give it a bit of steam, then you can just kick it. Great feeling, feels like you're kicking up through paddles or like a sports car. Same on the way down, if you're on a twisty and you're focused on something, you can just kick down and then you can topple it in, you know. So definitely has its pros and cons. You don't want to get lazy with your left hand, but it is a nice plus to have that. So hello. But yeah, I think that's for the pros and cons. So we'll cover a bit, we'll think about the speed, I guess, the ability to go fast. Now, with a 900, 105 horsepower, I believe this is, it's obviously way quicker than the 125 with your CVT on, and then even a fair bit quicker than, I believe it's a 35 horsepower that I done my DAS on. One of the salesmen I was speaking to, you know, about getting the S1000 XR, he's saying you can only go as fast as this. So if you're sensible and, you know, you're not going to be an idiot on it, the bike can't go any faster than you wind the throttle on. I agree with that partially, but then also having just that option, or you know, the ability to really crank it on. And I guess when you're revving on this kind of throttle movement might mean you only do 30, but that on the S1000 might mean you're doing 60. So, you know, you need to think about that. You need to think, can I be trusted with, you know, the additional horsepower or that additional top end that the bigger engines are going to have? If you can, then I think you're going to have a bike that you're going to be comfortable on, and you're going to be able to learn with and grow with without feeling the need to upgrade straight away, which is what I was scared of. I didn't want to get on a bike and then within 6 months be thinking about upgrading. because it's just a waste of money. Unless you're going to go down the route of buying something on Facebook Marketplace for £1,000, run it for a season, and then you kind of learn, and you know what more you might be into. That's a good way to do it. I'm just not like that. I'm just not that way inclined. So I'd have went and got something on a finance agreement, or I'd have paid, you know, maybe 3, 4, 5 grand for a 600, and then a season later I'm wanting to change it. So yeah, I would say I'm happy with the 900. Very happy with its capabilities. I think it's a great bike. And to be honest, I would recommend it to anyone that wants to get a bike. But I think I'm going to shut up for a minute and just enjoy the rest of this ride into Glasgow city centre. God. Made a boo-boo here, guys. I love when you look in the passenger mirror, the driver's side mirror, and you just see the eyes dipped, scrolling the phones. I could do a cycling Mikey here and just pull up next to her. You're under arrest, freeze! Not quite. See, is she indicating left to go onto the motorway? Yes. Welcome to Glasgow city centre. Suckyhole Street to be precise. Now bearing in mind that it's for Thursday night, it's Thursday evening. Now, what can I say about the condition of the roads? I'm sure everyone can relate to this, but the roads are an absolute shambles. Driving standards are a shambles, roads are a shambles. Call me. What is going on? Yeah, roads are a shambles, driving standards are shambles. What chance have you got on a motorcycle? Not exactly perfect conditions, is it? If you haven't constantly watched the road. For idiots, and constantly having to watch the road for a massive pothole that's going to send you over the handlebars. Why did we do it, huh? Yeah, straight ahead used to be a wonderful building on Union Street, but a vape shop took care of that, which is just, I don't know, something pretty ironic about that. And no doubt it'll become student accommodation, so if you're a student, lucky days. This guy's took his GTC for a lap of the town centre, taking the greatest of cares when he goes over the very, very small speed bump. One thing I notice about this is very, very snatchy at slow speeds. You really need to get the clutch in quite quick to, really manage that. Maybe look into that as something to do with sort of fueling when it's low speeds, or is it quite lean? I don't know. But it's not very smooth at slow speeds. this guy go. We're in no rush here. Nah, just stop and go, mate. I said, just stop and go. Don't know if he's racing me or the Uber Eats driver. See, the good thing about those cars is, even though, you know, it's not a GTR Pro or anything like that, to the average Joe, that could be a £1,000,000 car. And it's just not, you know, it's just not. But still a beautiful car. Well, that sounds bright. I don't think we'll fit up there, boys. And he's blocked that sun for us, so that's just wonderful. I'm going to bang an indicator on here and try and get stopped behind this BMW. This guy's on the road, so that's absolutely fine. You stupid cunt, man. Oh, you cunt.